Following the birth of my son Henry Fitzroy, I returned to court, where I remained a revered and loved mistress to the king. That was until 1521, when the first of the Boleyn girls, Mary, made her appearance. The ambitious Boleyns had placed her right under Henry's nose and saw to it that I was supplanted. Oh, and if you are interested, she'll have her say at some point. So, what became of me? You would think me damaged goods, a reputation in tatters. Think again. Nothing could do a girl more good than to vindicate a monarch and give him the thing he desired and desperately needed for a decade. Yes, an heir. So although sources don't all agree, in 1522 I made a good match. To the first Baron of Kim, Gilbert Taleboys. Gil and I were comfortable, the king having granted me property worth £200 in perpetuity, and my husband had been knighted. We enjoyed a happy accord, and 2 children followed, George in 1523 and Robert 5 years later, to join our daughter Elizabeth, born in 1520. Oh, you may have noticed a small discrepancy here. How so a daughter in 1520, yet not wed until 1522? And my affair with the king still in play in 1521. Well, yes, in all probability Elizabeth was also a Tudor. But, as a girl, she was of no interest to king nor country, so she was never acknowledged as Henry had been. I did reappear at court from time to time. In one account of me in 1529, a palace chaplain wrote, "Mistress Blount is more beautiful than the king's betrothed," referring, of course, to the other Boleyn girl, Anne. Someone else who will have her story to regale very soon. In fact, my place in the king's heart was secured. He continued to award me grants throughout my life. I fancy Anne Boleyn didn't much like that. Sadly, my Gil died in April 1530. And yes, as a woman of some means, the children and I were well provided for. But a woman in the 16th century should not remain unmarried for long. And so, in 1533, the same year as Henry and Anne finally wed, and incidentally the marriage of my son Henry to Mary Howard, I married the first Earl of Lincoln, Edward Clinton Defines. Ours was a fruitful union, with 3 daughters completing my family, Bridget in 1536, Catherine 2 years later, and finally Margaret in 1539. Childbirth in the 16th century was a very dangerous event, and so I was most fortunate to not only have survived, but to have been delivered of 7 live and healthy babies. We will deal with pregnancy and childbirth in depth another time. In 1540, I returned briefly to court as lady-in-waiting to the king's 4th wife, Anna von Cleve, but had to leave her service, of course, when their marriage was dissolved. And with my health failing, I chose not to serve the young Catherine Howard. You will hear from those 2 in due course. And so I retired from court, returning to my husband in Lincolnshire, where, in late 1540, I succumbed to consumption. Join me next time when I discuss my legacy, the children.